Welcome back, tabletop enthusiasts. If you're tired of spending 3 hours doing algebra just to make a character, you are in the right place. Today, we are diving into Savage Worlds Adventure Edition, or SWADE, a system whose literal motto is fast, furious, fun. In this video, we're going to walk through the exact steps to forge a hero from scratch. We'll be building a classic 1930s pulp adventurer, Captain Jet Sterling, using our visual guide. By the end of this video, you'll be ready to bring your own characters to the table and start rolling. Let's get savage. Before we look at the numbers, you need to understand where your character fits in the universe. In Savage Worlds, there are 2 types of characters, extras and wildcards. Extras are the nameless hordes, the goblin minions, the mob enforcers, or the generic stormtroopers. They go down quick, but your player character is a wildcard. You are an agent of fate. Mechanically, this means 2 massive things. First, you can take 3 wounds before you're incapacitated, whereas an extra generally goes down after just 1. Second, whenever you make a trait roll, you get to roll an extra 6-sided die called the wild die, and you take the highest result between the 2. To play, you'll need the standard TTRPG toolkit, a character sheet, and a standard set of polyhedral dice, D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, and D20. You'll also need a separate D6 of a different color to represent that awesome wild die we just talked about. Savage Worlds also uses a standard deck of playing cards, with the jokers left in, to determine initiative in combat, and a handful of tokens called Bennies. Bennies are the game's meta currency. You can spend them to re-roll dice, soak damage, or recover from being stunned. Alright, here is our mission roadmap. Character creation in SWADE is an 8-step process. Concept, race, hindrances, attributes, skills, derived stats, edges, and finally gear. It looks like a lot, but it's incredibly streamlined. Let's hit step 1. Step 1. The concept. Don't start with the math. Start with the story. Who are they? For our build, we are creating Captain Jet Sterling. He's a daredevil test pilot on a mission to stop the evil occultists of the Thula Society. His vibe is high-altitude bravery meets two-fisted justice. Having a clear concept makes all the mechanical choices down the line much easier. Step 2 is choosing your race or species. Savage Worlds can handle everything from elves to androids, but Jet is a human. According to the core rules, humans are highly adaptable. Because they lack the innate natural abilities of fantasy or sci-fi races, humans begin play with one free novice edge of their choice. An edge is essentially a special feat or perk. We'll save this free edge for Step 7, but keep it in your back pocket. Step 3 brings us to hindrances. These are your character's flaws, physical limitations, or dark secrets. Taking hindrances not only gives you great role-playing hooks and a way to earn those sweet bennies during play when your flaws get you into trouble, but they also give you points to buy immediate mechanical benefits. You can take up to 4 points of hindrances. A major hindrance gives you 2 points, and a minor gives you 1 point. What can you buy with these points? 2 points can raise an attribute 1 die type or buy you an extra edge. 1 point can buy you an extra skill point or double your starting cash. For Jet Sterling, we are maxing out our 4 points by taking 2 major hindrances. First, heroic. Jet is compelled to help those in need and will never say no to a rescue mission. Second, impulsive. Jet leaps before he looks, rarely thinking things through before taking action. These perfectly fit a daredevil pilot. By taking 2 major hindrances, we bank 4 total points to spend on the rest of our build. We'll use 2 of those points to raise an attribute 1 die type, and the remaining 2 points to buy an extra edge later. Now we move to the core of the character, attributes. There are 5: agility, smarts, spirit, strength, and vigor. Every attribute starts automatically at a D4. Higher dice mean a higher probability of success, with a D6 being average human ability. During character creation, you are given 5 base points to distribute among them. It costs 1 point to increase an attribute by 1 die type. We have our 5 base points, plus we are going to spend 2 of the hindrance points we banked to get 1 extra attribute point. That gives us 6 total points to spend. Let's build Jet. We boost agility from AD4 to AD8, which costs 2 points because he's an ace pilot. We boost smarts to D6 for 1 point, spirit to D6 for 1 point, and strength to D6 for 1 point. Finally, we boost his vigor to a D6 with our last 1 point so he can withstand the G-forces of his plane. Total spent, 6 points. We still have 2 hindrance points left over to use on edges. Step 5 is skills. In the current edition of Savage Worlds, every character gets 5 core skills absolutely free at AD4. These represent basic adventuring competency. athletics, common knowledge, notice, persuasion, and stealth. On top of that, you get a budget of 12 points to buy or upgrade skills. The math here is critical. It costs 1 point to increase a skill by a die type, as long as the skill is equal to or lower than its linked attribute. If you want to raise a skill higher than its linked attribute, it costs 2 points per die type. Let's spend Jet's 12 points. Piloting is linked to agility. Jet's agility is AD8. We spend 3 points to bring piloting from nothing up to AD4, D6, and then AD8. Shooting is also agility. We spend 3 points to make it AD8. Fighting is agility. Another 3 points makes it AD8. Repair is linked to smarts. Jet smarts is AD6. We spend 2 points to bring it to a D6. Finally, we spend our last 1 point to boost notice, which is one of our free core skills, from AD4 to AD6. That's 12 out of 12 points perfectly spent. Step 6 is filling in your derived stats. First is pace, which is your movement speed on the tabletop. Standard human pace is 6 inches, which equals 12 yards in the game world. Next is parry. This is the target number enemies have to roll to hit you in melee combat. The formula is 2 plus half of your fighting die. Jet's fighting is AD8. Half of 8 is 4. Add 2, and his parry is a solid 6. The last derived stat is toughness, which is your damage threshold. If an enemy hits you, they have to roll higher than your toughness to actually hurt you. The formula is 2 plus half your vigor die, plus any armor you're wearing. Jet has a vigor of D6. Half of 6 is 3. Add 2, giving him a base. Toughness of 5. We will add his armor in Step 8. Step 7 is edges. These are the cool special abilities that let you break the rules or gain massive bonuses. To take an edge, you have to meet its requirements, like being a novice rank, or having a certain attribute or skill level. Remember our leftover budget. We have 1 free edge for being human, and those 2 leftover hindrance points which buys us exactly 1 more edge. For his human edge, Jet takes ace. This requires an agility of D8. It lets Jet ignore 2 points of penalties to piloting rolls, and allows him to spend Bennies to soak damage for any vehicle he commands. For his second edge, he takes quick, which also requires a D8 agility. When initiative cards are dealt in combat, if Jet gets a 5 or lower, he can discard it and draw again. He's always ready for action. Our final step is gear. Unless your GM says otherwise, characters start with $500 to spend on adventuring equipment. You don't need to buy your character's casual clothes or basic living needs. This money is strictly for your mission loadout. Jet grabs a Weebly service revolver for $200. This does 2d6 plus 1 damage. He buys a leather flight jacket for $150. This provides plus 1 armor to his torso and arms. Finally, he buys a survival kit for $100, leaving him with $50 in his pocket. Remember our base toughness was a 5? With the jacket, his toughness is now written as 6-1. That means his total toughness is a 6, but 1 point of that is from armor. This is important to track, because if an enemy shoots him with an armor-piercing weapon, it will ignore that armor point. And there he is. Captain Jet Sterling, fully stated out and ready for the tabletop. We have a highly capable pilot who is incredibly fast on the draw, sturdy enough to survive a dogfight, and driven by a heroic impulsiveness that is absolutely going to earn him bennies at the table. As you play, your character will grow. In Savage Worlds, you typically gain an advance every 2 to 3 sessions. When you advance, you climb the ranks from novice to seasoned to veteran, heroic, and legendary. With an advance, you can raise an attribute, raise 2 skills or 1 skill twice, gain a new edge, or even buy off one of your hindrances if it makes sense in the story. And that is character creation in Savage Worlds Adventure Edition. The stats are just the skeleton. You provide the soul. What setting are you planning to run? Deadlands? Rippers? A homebrew sci-fi galaxy? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this visual guide helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe for more TTRPG deep dives, and share this with your table so you can spend less time doing math and more time rolling dice. Stay savage, my friends. I'll see you in the next one.